everybody, and welcome to Taking Control, the ADHD podcast on rashpixel.fm. I'm Pete Wright, and right over there is Nikki Kinzer.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Pete Wright.
How are you, Nikki Kinzer?
I'm doing great.
You feeling good? You feeling strong?
I feel organized.
I think that is good. It's because you're doing all these webinars and your guests on ADD Crusher, and now we're on the Evernote blog.
I know. How exciting was that?
I love that.
I love that too. That was fun.
And I don't know. I'm going to just say it. The Evernote blog, the image that they used, the header image, the hero image for the post is this like green, crazy, like topographical
maze almost looking.
Yeah. Not good for people with ADHD. I spent like 45 minutes trying to follow the maze.
Trying to get out. Oh, that is so funny.
It doesn't actually end. You want to think that it ends. It doesn't. It was a great post, and I'm thrilled to have it on there. And so we're going to be talking about. We thought this would be a great opportunity to go back in time a little bit and refresh our thoughts on Evernote. Since we had this great conversation with the good Pamela Rosen that was reproduced in print, but not here on this podcast. And we both have thoughts and impulses and new ways to use Evernote since the last time we talked about it. So we're going to refresh that and talk a little bit about Evernote today. Before we do that, make sure you head over to takecontroladhd.com. You can subscribe to the show for free or listen to it right there. Join the mailing list. That would be the most helpful thing you could do. If you haven't joined the mailing list, if you've been a subscriber to the podcast for a long time, just take 2 minutes and subscribe to the mailing list. Nikki sends a lot of great stuff out to the mailing list. Not too much that you get overwhelmed, but great stuff so that great articles that she is writing on the website in addition to the podcast each week. So just subscribe to that mailing list, helps us out. You can, of course, connect with us on Twitter or Facebook at Take Control ADHD and call us. You can leave us a voicemail at 503-664-48DD. We would love your thoughts and questions on this show. Okay, Evernote thoughts. Well, first of all, once you read the lovely piece that Pamela wrote on us, how do you feel like it characterized your use of Evernote?
Oh, I think it was a great summary because we were probably on the phone with her for the interview for, at least 45 minutes or so.
More than that. Yeah, it was a long time.
So there was a lot of information that we talked about, and then I thought she did a great job summarizing it and talking about how, it can be very effective for ADHD and had kind of my stance on it as a coach and your stance for using it the way that you use it. And yeah, I thought it was great.
Well, do you want to recap your stance on it when you're working with people who have ADHD, like Evernote and ADHD?
It depends on what the person's working on. Like, I have to listen to where their issues are, whether it's work or home or both. And have they used Evernote before? Are they familiar with it? Most people are, right? I mean, because it's a pretty big platform to use for project management and such.
Well,
and so
yeah, they've got over 200 million users right now.
What I try to do as a coach is figure out how they've been using it so far and what have been kind of the roadblocks that stop them from using it, because that's usually what I see is they get really excited about it, they start it, and then they don't maintain it, or they're not using it they're not going back to it on a consistent basis. And one of the things that I learned from you that I really take to heart when I talk to clients about it now is being very clear about what it is that you need it for. And I think that that's where you have to start, is like, what is it? I mean, why do you want this? Like, how is this going to help you?
How has using Evernote changed for you in the last couple of years?
Well, I'll tell you one of the biggest, mistakes that I made with Evernote and that I've really kind of changed. And this was recent because remember when we were talking about to-do task apps and like how to manage your to-do list and everything? Well, prior to that, I was using Evernote as my to-do list. And I had sort of like a daily to-do list that I would look at and a weekly. And I had like projects I was working on, and I found that it wasn't as effective with Evernote. And when I went to Todoist app, that was a much better way for me to manage my actual daily tasks and reoccurring tasks. So I actually stopped using Evernote for those things, started using Todoist. But where I still use Evernote every day, I'm in it every single day, is it's where I do my copies of my blog posts, my newsletters, my, all of the projects that I'm working on, whenever I'm doing research on new, like, online courses. So as we've already mentioned, the paper solution is going to be coming out here in the next couple of months. And so I have a whole section, a whole notebook about the paper solution. And I have, rough drafts of different articles and things that I've written for the program and research. I mean, it's all over the gamut. So I'm using all of that to manage that project. I have personal notebooks that I use for my personal stuff. I mean, it's like a storage area,
yeah, right.
in a lot of ways. But it's just really easy for me to look and see what I have to do, and where I'm at. And that's how I use it. What about you?
Well, for me, I think that is the biggest thing that has changed for me is the places where I'm not using Evernote as much anymore. And there are a couple of pain points in Evernote that have not gotten better. They've always been pain points, and they haven't changed. And so I've abandoned Evernote for those features, but I've really doubled down in other areas in the places where Evernote really excels. And for me, it's kind of a metaphor of the company. For a long time, for a number of years, Evernote was getting so broad in the way that they were approaching the market. And I think work chat is one of the great symbols of this sort of broadness. Trying to bring chat into Evernote was just awful.
But you know what? That's how I communicate with my editor.
Talk more about that.
She edits my blog posts and she edits my newsletter content, right? Mm-hmm. And so when I write those, I put it into a shared folder. So then she sees it. And then she comes back and she actually, in the work chat, she attaches the edits and says, here you go. And then if there's anything that she wants me to be aware of, she'll put that in there. So that's how we actually communicate, is through the work chat in Evernote.
You are an anomaly.
Really?
Yes. Work chat is, I think I can say without qualification, one of the most reviled features that has come out for Evernote. It is because it's really cumbersome. It's extreme. When I work with people to try and teach them how to use it, it is abandoned so fast because it's so confusing for the majority of people I work with to try to figure out what do people see when they see this? Am I attaching this to a specific note, or is it some other place in the app? It has been a disaster to try to talk to sort of normal everyday users about how work chat works. And I'm talking about normal everyday users in a business context. So, I'm working with a client that has a business subscription to Evernote. So all their employees have it, and they hate work chat. They can't make sense of it. So I would say for all of your success,
funny.
like I've got 10 more stories of people who absolutely hate work chat. And it serves as an example of sort of I don't know, it feels like Evernote's ego, right? We're going to help you bring all of your communication about your work inside our app. Come inside the gate and we'll close it behind you and it'll be great. And when it's not great, when people can't make sense of it, it becomes a point of distraction. And so it's been really hard to get it. So I don't use any of that stuff myself. I do still organize around notebooks and tags. Again, tags for me are very useful as thinking about them in terms of index at the back of a book, where notebooks are the table of contents in the front of the book for organizing. And so that makes it pretty easy for me. But I'm with you for jumping into Evernote. And this was one of the major points we made in the article, understanding the focus, understanding the thing you want to accomplish first is how you enter Evernote, right? What is the thing that you want to solve in your life, the process you want to solve? Begin there, build a solution inside of Evernote for how you store the knowledge related to this thing, and then it will grow from there. But don't try to put your entire life and all your paper and all your bills, everything in Evernote all at once. It gets overwhelming pretty quickly. You really have to take it one step at a time. So that I think is one of the major points we covered in that article. And now, to the central question, when we think about how Evernote's changed since the last time we talked about it, I led with the pain point. And there's one more pain point that's killer, and it's related to work chat. It's collaboration. And collaboration in Evernote is still really hard. And part of why it's hard is because it's going up against Google Docs, which has been such a staple of real-time collaboration that just doesn't break. Now, they may change features on the fly, and you may not know where things are from one day to the next when major feature releases come out. But generally, it is, when it counts, it's really stable. And that's, in fact, we used to do all of our show planning for this podcast inside of Evernote in a shared notebook where we would share our notes and everything would sync between us. But it got to the point where in real time, when we wanted to keep our notes while we were recording, you can't do that in Evernote because a note gets locked, when one person is actively editing it. And in Google Docs, that doesn't happen. So we moved all of anything that requires real-time collaboration and not asynchronous collaboration. So synchronous versus asynchronous has moved to Google Docs, and everything else that is sort of indexable archive content that requires just kind of sharing, but not synchronous work, that still lives in Evernote. Is that a fair way to characterize it? Which is really frustrating because I love Evernote so much for that kind of stuff, but they haven't nailed real time. And to be a viable, team collaboration work tool, they've got to nail real time across platforms. They've just got to, and it's just not there. Even Apple, which has been so slow to get real time collaboration around their own Office suite, is in beta of making Pages and Numbers and Keynote collaboration working. And when it's just one or two people or two or three people on a given share, it works really well. You throw 30 people at it, it breaks, but it actually works. And that Evernote has been doing this for 8 years and hasn't figured out, real time. It's kind of heartbreaking. So, but I will say one of the things I adore, if you have updated to iOS 10, you're an iOS user, iOS 10 Messages has an app store. And so the apps that you have on your phone or your iPad, you can install apps within Messages. And one of the apps, most of the apps that are getting sort of notoriety are stickers. So you can put stickers and things in your chats and little animations and things like that. And it's fun and cute, whatever. But the real benefit is in these Messages apps like Evernote. They were one of the first out of the gate. So when you're in the middle of a chat and I'm chatting along with you and I think, I want to share this note with you, I can tap on the app icon for Evernote and search my app library, my Evernote note library, and tap on a note, and it shares right to you. That has been a great, and it's one of those little tiny additions that are enabled by the OS that Evernote has really done a good job at. I use it every day to share a note with somebody, whether it's students or my wife or clients or partners, whatever. I use the Evernote app every single day.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's very cool. You've updated, right? You're on the latest OS?
Yeah, well, I should be because I have the latest iPhone.
Oh, yes, you do.
So yeah, I have to do some transferring this weekend, but we finally got it up and running this week. So.
Oh, good for you. Good for you. Well, it is really fun. And so we'll have to maybe we can include that in a little screen share at some point in the future. We'll add that to the show notes here, but how to use Evernote in Messages app. It's a very cool little feature. And one of my other favorite apps is ScanBot, which also has an app. So you can be in the middle of a Messages chat and tap on ScanBot and your camera scanner shows right up. So if you're standing there, this happens to me all the time. My wife calls me and she says, "Oh my God, I left the house and I forgot this one piece of paper that I absolutely need today. Can you take a picture of it?" Well, now I'm in Messages. She's just sent me a text. I tap on ScanBot. The camera opens up. I hold it over the paper. It scans it, OCRs it, and I hit send without having to open a separate app, without having to go through any of that sharing nonsense. It's just right there. It's one of those little conveniences that adds a lot to my life.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. Okay, then I want to talk about templates because templates have become a big deal for me. I use templates all the time, and I don't think we talked all that much about templates last time around.
No.
But people, I think, have really been gravitating toward templates. First, a huge shout out to the Evernote blog and the team behind the Evernote blog and their social presence. They share the coolest stuff. And it is just absolute. I get great new material from the Evernote blog all the time, and so I'm including a lot of direct notes to the posts on the Evernote blog that have really inspired me to create my own templates that I use throughout my day. That I think some of them are really, really useful to take from Evernote, customize them, and make them your own and use them. The first one is calendars. You can download from an Evernote notebook that includes different calendars, 5 different calendars that you can put into your own workflow. For example, you click on this little Evernote notebook and it opens up 5 notes. One of them is a simple gray monthly calendar, and it's just all of the table. It's a table of all the calendars, fully editable with all the dates that are just right. So you might have a calendar app that you already use to manage your calendar. So this may not be the monthly calendar, may not be the one that you really like, but a weekly calendar and a daily calendar and a yearly calendar, all of these templates are built right into Evernote as notes, and they're fully editable, and all of the weekends are highlighted out, and so you can do all of your planning right in Evernote.
Where do you find that?
Well, there's a link in the show notes.
Okay,
it's to a blog post it's an ENEX file, which is an Evernote notebook export file, right? And you just double click on it, and it opens up, and it says, "Where do you want to put these? Do you want to create a new calendar or a new notebook?" And you say yes, and now you can drag those notes into your templates folder. But it made me think, Nikki Kinzer, one thing that we haven't done is take your templates and forms and build Evernote templates out of them. We should totally do that.
Exactly.
That's what I'm thinking. So that has been, I have officially added that to my list of things to do because I would use the heck out of those right inside of Evernote. I love it. So
that's
calendar
really
templates,
cool.
Look for that note and look for a new note coming from an update coming from me with all of Nikki's forms built into Evernote notes. The next one is school notes. Now, this one I liked because I find it inspirational more than anything else. And this came as a post, their online Evernote, they ran a contest, like Best of the Year contest or something, and ended up posting a link with 5 tips from a college student who was demonstrating how he uses Evernote every day. And he shared his school note template, and it's really lovely. It is built using Evernote tables, just like the calendar notes, but it gives you a place for Q&A, a place for, what's the subject of the day, a place for follow-on questions, a place for the body of your notes. It is a lovely, it's a template you can add to your own Evernote notebook, and then every time you go into a new class, you just hit duplicate note and title it for whatever you want it to be, add the tag for the class, and you're good to go. You have a notebook for your school notes. My kids, their school district is all in on Cornell Notes, and so to this I found really inspirational. The Cornell Notes system, it just has a section at the top for, what the subject is. It has cues on the left side, note-taking on the right side, and at the end of each class, you go down into this summary and write a space at the bottom, in the space at the bottom of the note to summarize the notes that you took in that session. And you're supposed to go, there's this whole routine around it where you go back into your notes at the end of 24 hours, at the end of a week, to review them and to write new cues and questions and things. It's a whole system that works really well, and both in the middle school and high school, they've gone so all in that there's a Cornell Notes review each week, and they're just really bullish on Cornell Notes. It seems to be working quite well. And so they ended up building an enterprising Evernote user built a Cornell Note template, which you can take and save to your Evernote. It includes all the cues, record, questions, recite, reflect, review. It includes all of the topics that you need to use to build your own template. You can customize it to make it your own and then duplicate it every time you need it to create a new notes page. It really is a fantastic way to organize notes around school. Now, of course, this goes straight into meeting notes, right? I mean, this is one of the things that makes it so inspirational, that once you are good at taking your Cornell notes and you have these templates, you can convert it very easily into a meeting note process where you can create a dossier, for example, of important people. Maybe it includes a photo of a person at the top, and it includes all the major events that you attend with this person, and it includes their birthday and, their favorite flowers, their favorite meals, so that you know where to take them if they're your clients and you're traveling with them. Those kinds of things make for a great, Evernote makes for a great solution for those things. Any meeting you sit down and you want to say, here's a meeting objective, here's, major topics covered, here's our agenda, place for written notes down below, audio notes, add audio attachments to your notes. I'm using these things all the time, and I really love it. I've gone even more in on attachments now that Evernote has released fantastic Google Docs integration. For example, you can drag links into Google, and it expands little previews of Google Docs quite well. But even beyond Google Docs, having Word and Excel and Pages, all these doc formats in Evernote notes, organized in meeting notes templates, gives me a great place to have one view on a specific event, and all the resources that go with that event are attached to it. I get this question all the time, though, about using a solution like, Dropbox, or, what about the Finder or Explorer on my computer? What about that? I can just drag all my documents into a folder for that event, and then I have it. For me, it's all about context.
Right. Yeah.
Right. That when I put these things in an Evernote note, I can put a header that says, these are the event resources, and I can include PDFs and docs and things below that. And next to that, I can include, these are the personnel resources, right? And then I can include documents below that. And so I understand what all these, otherwise unrelated documents are in a single Evernote note, and on a scan, I can get a really quick sense of context about, where I am on this particular event at a particular time, or a particular course I'm teaching. I can get, here are all the resources for a particular week or a particular course date in a single note, where otherwise I'm just, resizing windows to see the titles, and I'm doing quick previews of all of these various docs that are associated in a folder. It's just not as good for clearly seeing the context around particular documents on my computer, than Evernote is. So what do you think? I've been talking too long. What do you think about all this templating and docs and all these things?
I am surprised that I didn't know about the templates. I feel a little silly that I didn't know about these templates. But you know what? I am embracing, that I just learned something huge today, and that's a really positive thing. So I'm not going to worry that I did not know this before. But yeah, I mean, that's the biggest aha for me, is I had no idea that they had these templates. So I'm really excited to go through them and look at them and see how they might help
it's really
myself and for other people too. Yeah. So no, this is fantastic, Pete. I knew I would learn something new. I knew that.
Well, I'm glad. There's another one. I put this NaNoWriMo at the bottom. We've talked about NaNoWriMo before, but do you remember what NaNoWriMo is?
Nano.
Is that a new no? I don't know.
No, what was the no?
Nano, Mork from Work.
Yes, thank you, Robin Williams. What was that? Mork and Mindy.
Yeah, Mork and Mindy. Yeah.
Nano.
Yeah, and they had the little finger handshake thing.
Yes.
Yeah. That's right.
Boy,
no.
That's aging us, probably.
Yes, too much.
Okay, go on.
Do you remember what NaNoWriMo is?
I have no idea.
It is an acronym for National Novel Writing Month. And that's where we are. November is National Novel Writing Month. And the objective of NaNoWriMo is that you sit down at midnight or 12:01 on November 1st, and you begin writing a novel. And by the end of November, you should hit 50,000 words. That is the goal. And you submit your novel in this little online word counter, and then you get a badge, and you've accomplished something. And it's a great big collective. I mean, it's literally a global collective of writers who use
Do they have
November
a special handshake?
to just... If they don't, I'm starting it. It's a global collective of people who are trying to write a novel together. And I love that Evernote has shared a very timely set of templates, story premise, world building basics, character profiles, 3-act story plotting, story beats,
awesome.
all these different templates that will walk you through how to create dramatic structure and build characters and world.
Are you going to do
Evernote
it?
templates.
Are you going to write a novel?
Well, I've done it. I've done it a number of times, and I've done it, I think, probably 8 years running, and I've completed it, I think 4. But I've never gone back to any of my Nano works and finished them, right? I've never gone back and edited them. I've never gone back and actually published anything. So they're all just sitting on a shelf. I print them out. I bind them in their rough draft at the end, just as a kind of a celebration.
Yeah, that you did it.
Having accomplished
awesome.
it. But I need, one of these days I need to go back and actually do the work and finish the book. So I have starting points. It's really fun. I mean, you really start if you're getting into it. And when I started really getting into it, it's when you go to all the local meetups. People will go to coffee shops and they'll hang out together and they'll write together, and somebody will yell out, I need the best song you remember from 1984, and suddenly everybody's talking about music and working music into their whatever they're writing right then.
Right.
So it ends up being a fun collective, and I'm a big fan of it. But about Evernote, the fact that there are so many people who actually build their worlds inside of Evernote, this template pack, if you're just getting started with NaNoWriMo, it's a great, great, great place to start. Mm-hmm. Super fun.
Well, and I just want to add to that. I do have a client who uses Evernote for her stories, because she is a writer, and she's written for years and years. And so the way that she's going to be, actually, I'm going to be helping her, and you're going to be helping her too, Pete, set this up for her. But that's how she wants to use Evernote, is she wants to be able to store her stories onto Evernote. So having notebooks and then, notes attached to those, specific stories. And I'm not exactly sure how we're going to all do it, but you're going to help us set that up. But I think that's a great way to use Evernote, is to have a place for those things to go and be able to search for them easily and pull them up when you need to, and all of that.
Truly.
So yeah,
it's a good solution for that. And for long format writing, there are a number of other tools that are really popular. Scrivener and Ulysses. I mean, these are tools that are built around writers and generating thousands and thousands of words and organizing all those resources. But it turns out that if you're already playing with Evernote, it's a great platform for diving in and just getting your words in there. I look forward to it. So that's kind of how I'm using Evernote. I'm really bullish on templates and building templates that fit specific processes. So again, back to our just summarizing point, why Evernote works and when it works. It's when you really focus on what the one thing is that you want to accomplish. And now you can build a template to help you stay focused on creating the notes that help you accomplish that process. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I do have one bit of follow-up that's unrelated to Evernote.
Mm-hmm.
It seems so strange that we would have anything unrelated to Evernote in an Evernote show, but I'm very excited about, we got some feedback. We did a show on impulsivity some time ago. I'll put a link to that in the show notes as well. We got an email from a friend of the show and listener who works at a very large company and was struggling a little bit because administratively this listener was told that he was sending too many emails to too many people that were outside of the division, and it was becoming a frustrating thing for his boss. Who was getting notes from other people saying, hey, what's this person doing writing the president of the company, that kind of a thing. But it was an impulse issue, and this was a fantastic opportunity to talk about impulsivity. Well, we got an email back because one of our recommendations was you got to talk to the support people at the organization, right? You've got to go talk to the people who are designated to support you and your ADHD, because
we were kind of talking about the accommodations and then finding out what they are, what the possibilities are, and then we are also kind of adding on to, now that you know what they are, or what the guidelines are, it's kind of your responsibility to make sure you try to do your best to follow through with them as well.
Right. And so he did. He went to talk to the HR folks, and they were incredibly accommodating, and not only help him kind of work through some of these, some of the initial kind of practical implications of this, but gave him a tip on filtering email so that all the email goes to, in this case, it sounds like he's got all of his emails sent to go to the trash, with the exception of just things that are filtered by keyword. It's a little bit unclear because the message that he sent was sent using voice dictation that from I'm thinking in a noisy room because I'm missing a bit on understanding exactly what the process is. But it sounds like because he's filtering on keywords, he's able to prioritize the things that are actually important that he's going to need to be involved in versus the things that just get his impulsivity or the impulsive brain ticking. Things that just inspire him to shoot off an email as quickly as he possibly can. Getting all those emails out of his inbox ends up being really, really helpful. And he talks about the impulse reward response, and this is something we didn't use that language exactly, but I think it's something we've talked about on the show. The idea that every time you check your email, you're getting a little bit of an impulse, like a dopamine rush. If there's something that is of value to you, you're getting a hit right then. And so how do you solve that? From an impulsivity perspective, you remove the reward every time you open your email. And that was the solution, was getting email to skip the inbox and go someplace else, with the exception of the work-related stuff that ends up being really important. So I think it's a great response, and I'm deeply appreciative that he wrote in to share the success.
I am too. I think it's fantastic. And I wrote back to him and I said, I have to commend you on your courage. It takes a lot of courage for somebody to go into an office and, or an HR department and say, this is what's going on, and a very brave thing to do, and an inspiration, I think, for many, that there's always going to be some fear, attached to it. But look at the outcome here. I mean, it was such a positive outcome. And just recently I had another client that I work with in my group coaching, my coaching group, I guess is the best way to say that. And she had the same situation where she was really kind of, fearful about talking to her supervisor about her ADHD, and she did. And it was just another really positive experience. And she felt so relieved and really proud of herself, and she should be, and our listener here should be very proud of themselves. So yes, I want to share that because I want people to see there are some success stories here that are, really worth listening to and thinking about. Absolutely. Congratulations. And thank you for following up with us and letting us know how it all turned out, because I love that too. I think that's great.
That's the best. That's the best. All right. That's all we've got. Thanks, everybody, for listening to this show today and for giving Evernote a shot, because it's really helpful for a lot of people. It might be able to help you. That's all.
It helps me.
There you go. Thanks, Nikki Kinzer. On behalf of Nikki Kinzer, I'm Pete Wright, and we'll catch you next week right here on Taking Control, the ADHD Podcast.